And in the midst of that, doing his sheeping, it says in verse 2, and the angel of the Lord appeared unto him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush. And he looked, and behold, the bush burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed. You know, it's easy when you're doing something after a while to become lackadaisical, just to become just going through the motion, but your heart not in it. Brother Moses there going through his sheeping work. He saw a bush that was burning. I want to challenge us today that God appears in strange and unusual and unique forms. Anybody else in the Bible God appeared to in a bush? Hello? Doctor? You have some scholars in here. Doctor? God appeared to anybody else in a bush of fire? That was a unique appearance. That God appeared in strange and unusual forms. Anybody can remember how God appeared in your story? You remember what form he came in? How he revealed himself to you? Through a preacher, through a friend, through a dream. Anybody remember? God revealed himself to Moses in a strange and an unusual form. He came to him in a flame of fire. Why are you saying that, preacher? Because sometimes I think God come to us in some simple forms and we miss it. God, reveal yourself to me, and God said, I did. But maybe the package was too simple. Hello? God revealed himself to Moses in the form of a flame in a bush. Diverse stories of God's goodness. How he reveals himself to us in diverse ways. Burning bush. Tread with me through this story a little bit, because sometimes we think we know the story, we read it so many times, but here is God revealing himself to Moses in the form of a bush. The angel of the Lord right there have a plan for Moses. But look at verse 3. And Moses said, I will now turn aside and see this great sight, why the bush is not burnt. Moses looked across, normal day, 80-year-old shepherd. He said, wait, that bush they burning long time. I want you to understand that in the Middle East, in the desert, anybody ever been to Trinidad? Anybody ever seen bushfire in Trinidad? All the time. Yeah, all the time. You be driving down the savannah all the time. You see a big fire. You say, Wishy, what that? You say, boy, that's bushfire. Fire that's light all the time. The heat, whatever, the pitch. I don't know. All I know, fire down there to them is nothing. And for what I understand, a fire in the desert, heat and dry bush tend to cause something called fire. And it wasn't the fire that really caught Moses' attention. No. It was the fact that the fire just kept burning and burning and burning and burning, and the bush was still there. And in curiosity, Moses said, What the first two things that Moses said? What he said? Moses said what? Moses said, I will. I will now turn aside and see this great sight, why this bush is not burning. Curiosity is sometimes how encounters with God begins. Being alert, looking out. I strongly believe, saints of God, that God light bushes and fires all around us to try to get our attention. I think sometimes we miss him because we're so burdened down with the pressures of life. We're so busy with the rat race. We're so busy watching the clock that sometimes I wonder what would have happened if Moses said, look, I have a sheep schedule today. I can't turn aside and check out this bush. I guess I want you to be alert. That as we go through life, as we pray for encounters with God, it's so important to look out and to recognize them when they come. Because sometimes they come real simple.